Are here the night after WNBA fight night. Sophie Cunningham putting JC Sheldon in a clinch. Marina Mabrey targeting Caitlin Clark.
There were 6 technicals, 3 ejections, and 2 flagrants throughout the chaotic Sun vs. Fever game. But the moment that ignited social media was when Marina Mabrey shoved Caitlin Clark, blindsided her, and managed to continue in the game without being ejected. Meanwhile, Sophie Cunningham was dismissed, and fans swiftly pointed out the unfairness.
All they had to do was just eject her. All they had to do was eject her, and none of this happens. If the referees had ejected Marina Mabrey, nothing else happens. The Sophie Cunningham situation does not happen.
The league then subtly changed Mabrey's infraction to a flagrant 2 after the game, raising the questions of why the officials missed it in real time and why the league only intervened after the outcry.
So, there are 4 players fined in that game. 4 players fined in that game, but the referees, the scariest part about all this is that the referees came out with their report. They came out with a report and said, the contact made by Mabrey did not rise to the level of ejection. Additionally, it did not meet the criteria for a flagrant 2 penalty. And it was given as a technical foul, not even a flagrant, by the way.
Let's first examine how that should have altered everything before hearing the specific reasons why the WNBA ignored its own officials and why the league's repair might have caused more harm than good.
A lot of it is centered around the last 46 seconds where Sophie Cunningham hard fouls JC Sheldon. She gets ejected, JC gets ejected, does Lindsay? I think Lindsay gets ejected. And in watching the broadcast, even the broadcasters at the time mentioned if they would have just ejected Marina Mabrey, this probably wouldn't have happened.
Marina, you're correct. When everyone kept returning to the play, Mabrey's shove on Caitlin Clark wasn't simply another hard foul. It was the moment when May gave her a blindside shove that sent her crashing to the hardwood. The audience and the broadcast team reacted instantly as the referees blew the whistle, but instead of awarding Mabrey a flagrant 2 or even an ejection, they awarded him a technical penalty. Players and announcers immediately questioned the ruling, claiming it appeared to be a cheap shot deserving of an ejection. Even in a game that was already heavy on physical play and technical aspects, this struck out as something unique thus.
So Caitlin Clark gets poked in the eye, Marina Mabrey doesn't even see what happens and she just decides to clean Caitlin Clark out of it. And the referees just said, nah, it was not worth an injection.
Social media took off. Fans asked, how is this not an ejection? As the video went viral in a matter of minutes. Many people believed that Mabrey's continued presence set the tone for excessively rough play and that the referees were losing control, but when you considered how other fouls were handled, your perplexity only grew. Are the referees even watching? For instance, Sophie Cunningham was immediately removed for a hard foul that was not as obvious as Mab's hit or involving a shove.
And then she was getting attacked. She was just standing there. She was standing there. What is she supposed to do? She's protecting herself. She didn't throw hands or anything. She just held her. She didn't punch. She didn't slap, eye gouge. She didn't do any of that. She just held her. All right, so I don't know, man. That's my opinion on it.
On video, the contrast was unmistakable. Mabrey remained in the game following what appeared to be a considerably riskier play, whereas Cunningham left right away.
So basically, all they had to do was just eject her. All they had to do was eject her and none of this happens. If the referees had ejected Marina Mabrey, nothing else happens.
Fans and commentators repeatedly brought up the inconsistency, pointing out that Mabrey would have been eliminated from the game like Cunningham if the officials had been following the rules. Instead, the call seemed arbitrary, leaving everyone to wonder what the true standard was. The WNBA intervened and altered their ruling since the controversy persisted after the final buzzer.
Marina Mabrey's technical from last night's Fever Sun game has been upgraded to a flagrant 2. Oh man, the league told ESPN a flagrant 2 comes from a standard fine. Additionally, Sophie Cunningham was fined separately for her hard foul with 46 seconds to play. No players will be suspended. So that's the end result of everything. I think she came down here and said something as well. And to this point, neither coach has been fined for their post-game criticism over the official.
Yes, that's correct. They declared that after analyzing the play, McRae's technical would also be upgraded to a flagrant. If the call had been made during the game, McRae would have been immediately ejected without question. The league also discovered her by acknowledging that the live call was incorrect. Rather than calming the outcry, fans interpreted this as evidence that the officiating crew had overlooked something obvious, which only served to highlight the inconsistency.
Now, people are calling for Sophie Cunningham's ejection from the league. People are commenting on her Marina Mabrey stuff.
The league said that Mabrey should have qualified as excessive force and ought to have also resulted in a fine, but that only made matters worse. Why wasn't it called that way at the time? The play was clearly in front of the officials, and even impartial spectators were left perplexed as to how something so obvious could have gone unnoticed. Was it a poor decision, or does the WNBA have a larger issue with what constitutes fair play?
It is kind of, frustrating to see the hypocrisy everywhere in all the spaces when it comes to the Indiana Fever, because I'm seeing the same people saying, and the same people in the media, the same people in social media, which social media doesn't really count and it shouldn't, but these are filtering to people in the mainstream media saying it was a physical league last season to Sophie should be ejected and her spot should be considered in the league, and calling her out on all these physical plays that were totally excusable until the Indiana Fever do them.
There's no way y'all coming after the game and then now you're saying, oh, it should have been a flagrant 2. Oh, we should have. Look, you're catching the smoke and now you want to change it. You need to do it during the game. All right, during the game, go ahead and call it the way it is, man. Stop with the nonsense.
The game's rules seemed to change all at once, and if Mabrey had been ejected when she should have been, the entire game might have gone differently. However, the upgrade came too late to matter. Clark herself received a technical for reacting after being poked in the eye, and Cunningham received an upgraded foul and fine, even though her play appeared less dramatic than Mabrey's.
She didn't even get the 2 free throws in possession. She didn't even get a flagrant. I've never seen a technical upgraded to a flagrant 2 before. I've never seen that happening before. It wasn't even called a flagrant 1, it was a tech upgraded to a flagrant 2.
All of this leads to the same question being asked by coaches, players, and fans. If the calls are inconsistent, how can anyone have faith in the system? The greatest revelation is that the officials and the league couldn't even agree on what transpired, which is where the real controversy begins. The discrepancy between what happens during the game and what the league decides afterwards only serves to increase uncertainty.
The contact made by Mabrey did not rise to the level of an ejection. Additionally, it did not meet the criteria for a flagrant foul penalty 2.
So, let's get to the real question. Who is really to blame for this mess? The referees on the court or the league that intervened after the fact? Ashley Gloss, the referee, explained after the game that Marina Mabrey's foul did not qualify for a flagrant foul penalty or an ejection, which is why the referees called a technical on Mabrey and allowed him to continue.
Out with this statement saying, yeah, it was a flagrant 2. So this just clearly shows me the referees need some schooling, man. Okay? They need some schooling. You had these referees out here clueless, man. And I was wondering what was taking them so long to call the right call. I swear to you, man, we lived 2 lifetimes before they came back and said what they needed to say about the nonsense that happened.
However, hours later, the WNBA overturned its own team and formally upgraded the foul to a flagrant as well. This is not merely a correction, it is a public contradiction, and everyone was now curious as to how a play could change from being insufficient for an expulsion to being the kind of hit that gets you ejected.
Question was, why did Caitlin Clark get a technical foul? She ended up coming back and saying, after the foul by Sheldon, Clark reacted in an unsportsmanlike manner toward Sheldon. Huh?
Fans jumped on it immediately after the league's announcement was made, and social media feeds were overflowing with clips, commentary, and a great deal of confusion. If the rules are supposed to be clear, why do the league's referees interpret the same play so differently? The league's decision didn't just put Gloss and her crew in a difficult situation. It also left people wondering if the WNBA is following the rules as written or if it's just responding to criticism.
Now, the flagrant with Sophie, I'm still questioning that. I'm still questioning because it looked like a take foul, fam. And don't tell me y'all never seen somebody grab LeBron James, like hold him like both of his arms, try to hold him down. He fights through it, still makes the bucket. Don't tell me y'all never seen that.
The actual game was already crazy. Everyone was on edge due to a series of calls, 3 ejections, and 6 technical fouls. Caitlin Clark's technical was particularly noteworthy. She was struck for unsportsmanlike conduct after reacting to being prodded in the eye, and JCS Sheldon struck her chest with a dead ball. Take a listen. The Cunningham scenario comes next. If you're watching, you're left wondering how one player gets ejected and fined for a hard foul while another stays on the court after a more obvious hit. Sophie Cunningham was tossed for her second flagrant on JCS Sheldon, and after the league reviewed it, they added another fine on top. Meanwhile, Mabrey's more obvious shove was only a technical live. This kind of inconsistency is what keeps the fire burning. When referees make split-second calls in front of 10 to 15 times as many people as at a normal WNBA game, they are under pressure to defend themselves. Things were made worse by the sheer number of punishments and how they were administered. It's difficult for anyone to trust the system when the rules seem to change from play to play or even after the final buzzer. At times, the referees appeared to act quickly, and at other times, they missed calls that the league subsequently acknowledged were incorrect. Interview. Fundamentally, it's about having faith in the referees to call the game fairly and in the league to support them or set them straight when the league and the officials can't agree. Is it the referee's inability to apply clear guidelines, or is the league trying to repair its reputation after the fact that no one seems to have a straight answer, but the fallout keeps getting worse? While it's good that the referees took action, they should have taken action much earlier, as they could have prevented all of this. But they chose not to, and right in the middle of all of this, Marina Mabrey isn't backing down. Her response to the controversy is just as daring as her play on the court, and it has everyone talking about what it really means to be a WNBA star. Instead of ignoring the criticism, Marina Mabrey took advantage of it by telling her TikTok admirers, "Every time they comment, I make dollars." That one line says everything about how she handles controversy. This is what she said: "Every time they comment, I make dollars for McRae. Attention, good or bad, is just another way to build her brand and boost her profile. She doesn't try to dodge criticism or smooth things over. She flips it, turns it into momentum, and keeps moving. This isn't about apologizing or trying to win people over. It's about owning the moment and making it work for her no matter what anyone else thinks." If you've watched Mabrey play, you know this attitude isn't new. She's built her entire career on being physical, competitive, and sometimes crossing the line. Like, if you guys don't know about Sophie Cunningham and Marina Mabrey, who these two people are, like, you need to just know the lore. Like Marina Mabrey, this is how CRA, like DJ Jane, calls Marina Mabrey her evil twin. She's earned a reputation alongside Sophie Cunningham for stirring up physicality, so much that fans in the arena boo every time she touches the ball. That's not just a reaction to one shove or one game, it's a pattern. Mabrey's style is direct and in your face, and she doesn't back down from the spotlight or the noise. For some fans, that's exactly what makes her stand out. For others, it's a reason to question whether the league is doing enough to set clear boundaries. But like Marina Mabrey is a crash-out artist. Like, there's literally this page, if you guys haven't seen, called Women Who, and 90% of what they do is it's just fights. Theirs 175,000 subscribers, 10,000 videos, 90% of their work is just fans saw players like Ma pushing the boundaries while officials looked the other way, and it fed the perception that league rules are hazy and unevenly enforced. Ma's unapologetic response only heightened the tension in the arena. Some see her as tough and fearless, while others see her as reckless and exploiting the chaos that divides. You could feel the frustration in the arena every time Mabrey or JCS Sheldon touched the ball, and the boos got louder. When referees make split-second calls in front of 10 to 15 times as many people as at a normal WNBA game, they are under pressure to defend themselves. Things were made worse by the sheer number of punishments and how they were administered. It's difficult for anyone to trust the system when the rules seem to change from play to play or even after the final buzzer. At times, the referees appeared to act quickly,